Hi folks, and welcome to this coronavirus special. Well, we're at the end of week 1 and at the beginning of week 2 now of lockdown, and I hope you're all keeping safe and well. So just like the rest of the UK, I've had to close the doors to the training school, and like the rest of you guys, we've retreated to the safety of our underground bunkers. I'm not wanting to be the bearer of bad news or anything here folks, but it looks like we're going to be living under lockdown conditions for quite a while. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to make a short video to explain exactly what that means for us dog owners over here in the UK. As you can see, we've got on the screen at the moment our current lockdown rules, and there's nothing on there that openly caters for dog owners. You know, I'm not going to bitch about that, that's fair enough. Rather than put it down as an essential daily chore, the government have grouped it in with essential daily exercise. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going to bitch about it. The whole point of lockdown is to limit the amount of people that are out on the street at the moment, and thus limit the spread of the virus. So, you know, that's fair enough. So if we go over to the government's own website, this is gov.uk, and we'll have a look at what they're offering as form of advice to us dog owners at the moment. So this is advice if you have symptoms of corona and you must remain at home for 7 days or for 14 days if as a household. If your dog cannot exercise at home, you should ask someone outside of your household to walk your dog for you. Non-essential trips to the vets should be avoided. If your pet needs urgent treatment, you must phone the vet to arrange the best approach to meet your pet's needs. Okay, that seems fair enough. So this is the advice for those of us that don't have coronavirus. You may leave your house to exercise once a day, and you should combine this with walking your dog. Okay, let's just clear up. Leaving your house once a day don't mean leaving it at 7 o'clock in the morning and coming back at 7 o'clock in the evening. Okay, they haven't put a time limit on there, but it's kind of widely publicised that you've got about an hour's worth of exercise time. In doing so, it's important to minimise the time spent outside the home and remain 2 metres away from anyone outside of your household. All non-essential trips to the vet should be avoided. If your pet needs urgent treatment, you may take them, but you must remember to wash your hands, remain 2 metres away from anyone outside of your household, and you must call the vets before going to see them. Okay, and the advice that they're offering for someone who is unable to walk their dog. You may also leave your house to provide care or help to a vulnerable person. This includes walking the dog for someone who is unable to leave their home because they are self-isolating or being shielded. You should remember to wash your hands before and after handling the dog and keep 2 metres away from other people and animals, including when handing over the dog to the owner. Okay, so it's alright to have somebody go out and walk your dog for you, to maintain that social distancing rule, and you'll be within the confines of the law. So that's what the government are telling us dog owners. Are you able to drive somewhere to walk your dog? Right, well, legally, yes you are. As it's nothing included in the government sort of laws there that you can't travel. But what they're asking you to do is to not travel. Okay, so legally, yeah. Should you? No. All right, just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. Let's try to keep into our local environment and thus limit the spread of this virus. What happens if you live in flats or you don't have access to a garden? Well, first of all, everybody in your flat or house has 1 hour's worth of exercise. So if you go out at separate times, then you could take the dog with you and it can get multiple hours worth of walking. All right. Let's assume though you're just a single person with one dog, then you've got your hour's worth of exercise time, but you're also allowed to take the dog out to toilet. And the sort of procedure behind this is you're asked to remain around the building that you live in, best of your ability, and obviously folks, please remember to clear up whatever your dog sort of leaves behind. it's important to remember that you've only got a few minutes out there to let your dog exercise. You're not granted another hour's worth of exercise to go out there and get your dog to toilet. Nor should you think to yourself, right, well, I've been designated this hour's worth of time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that time up during the course of the day, and I'll use that to exercise the dog throughout the course of the day. That's not what they want you to do. If you're struggling to understand the difference between spending an hour all at once and spending it throughout the course of the day, let's see if this can sort of help you. First of all, let's assume that you're lucky enough to own one of those Johnston K9 sexy clocks there, alright? And we're also going to assume for our story that you're going out at 7 o'clock in the morning, and during that time there is also 10 other people that have decided to go out of the house at 7 o'clock in the morning. All of which, all those 10 people, have passed through the common denominator in our story. So if you don't know what I'm talking about there, that's the thing that links all this together. So in this can be the gate to the park, let's say. So all 10 of those people have passed through the gate to the park prior to yourself. So you've gone out and you've got 10 potential chances of catching the virus. You do half an hour's walk and then you go home again. Alright, you spend the rest of the day in quarantine, no problem, you're nice and safe, you're not hurting anybody. You go back out at 7 o'clock at night, and same thing, but this time there's only been 9 people out before you that have touched that gate before you get to it. You spend your half an hour out, and then you go home again. You think no problem, you've stayed away from everybody, you've not seen anybody even, you should be fine. Okay, but let's remember, this thing's not just transferred through spit particles directly onto you. It's also transferred by particles landing onto door handles and gates and things like that, and it can last for days on some surfaces, granted hours on others, but metal surfaces, plastic surfaces, some of these scientists are saying days, up to 7 days on some of these things. So you've been out twice a day. If you'd been out at 7 o'clock in the morning, you'd have got 10 chances of potentially picking something up off a door handle. If you've gone out at 7 o'clock in the evening, you've got 9 chances of picking up something off the door handle or the gate. Okay, that's in this fictitious world that we're talking about, where there's only 20 people living in it. Yeah, we went out twice, so what you've actually done is you've put yourself at the risk of touching or passing by somewhere where 19 other people have been, and likewise you put them at the same risk with yourself. Like I say, that's in a fictitious world where there's 20 people, you and these other 19. Here's something to keep the old grey matter going while we're all on lockdown at the moment. Working with the information already given about the people out of their homes, and if 10 people per hour left their home between 7 AM and 7 PM for a walk, with each person passing through the same common denominator, each potentially carrying the virus, and each only visits it once and only touches it once with one hand. How many potentially infected hands have touched that common denominator by the time the first person out at 9 PM touches it? Answers in the comment section down below, please, folks, and we'll come back to that one later. Next up, what if you've got 2 dogs? Right, well, you can split your time between the 2 dogs. And well, you're saying, wait a minute, you just told me you can't split your time. Well, what I said was you can't split your time throughout the course of the day, not you can't split your time throughout your hour. So let's just illustrate what I'm talking about there. Let's say you decide you've got your 2 dogs and you're going to split it half an hour for each dog. You go out at 7 o'clock in the morning, you get back home at 7:30, get your dog, and you're back out again at 8 o'clock. Back out at 7:30, back in again for 8 o'clock. During that 1 hour, it's still the same amount of people that are out and about, you and those 10 other people. So your chances of infection or cross-infecting somebody else they've not improved nor have they declined. Okay, totally different to spreading it out throughout the course of the day. So what if you've got lots of dogs? Well, if you've got lots of dogs and there's only you, it's not really worthwhile taking them out for a 2-minute walk. Okay, you might think it is to stretch their legs, and I suppose it might make them feel a little bit better as well, but they're not exactly getting any exercise time now, are they? Okay, so your option really is to split your exercise time daily between as many dogs as you can safely manage. All right, if you've got somebody else in your house, then they can obviously take some dogs. Now, if we go back to the government sort of advice, they're saying that you can actually have somebody come and take some of your dogs out. So if you could arrange that, then again, following social distancing etiquette, you could have somebody else walk your dog for you, as long as you trust that person to look after your dog and be responsible for it, and ultimately as long as that person is big enough and strong enough in a worst case scenario to be able to restrain your dog, hold it back, and stop it getting itself into trouble, that kind of thing. Right, that's lots of dogs. Right, let's get on to some dangers now that have been brought up by the coronavirus. And we're not talking now about whether your pets can actually catch it or not. We're talking about the things that we're bringing into daily circulation to protect ourselves. First up, hand sanitizer. Now, you might struggle to get it at the moment, but if you have got some and you've got a dog, please be careful with it. One of the ingredients in a lot of hand sanitizers is glycol. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because we spoke about it back in the Christmas edition of the dangers around Christmas time. It's one of the ingredients in antifreeze. It's in fact the ingredient in antifreeze that makes it so appealing to our dogs. It's got quite a sweet taste to it. It's also the ingredient in antifreeze that makes it so toxic to our dogs. All right, it's going to do them serious injury. So if you are using hand sanitizer whilst out and about, that's great, no problem there. But when you get home, if you've been using hand sanitizer, straight to the kitchen, wash your hands with plenty of soap and water and get that off. If you have been using it and you've noticed that your dog's licking your hands a little bit more than it might normally do, well, that's why. It's because it's getting that sweet taste of glycol off your skin, and it thinks it's in for a treat. When if it keeps it up, it's gonna seriously hurt itself. Right, after hand sanitizer, overwalking puppies and old dogs. Fit dogs overwalking, I think we'll probably get tired before we overwalk them, but we can certainly do damage to puppies and we can certainly do damage to older dogs by overwalking them. So please don't use your dog as an excuse to be out on the street. We're not supposed to be out and about. The whole point of this exercise is to limit the amount of people on the street. I keep saying it, but that's what it's all about. If you are overwalking your puppy at a young age, you're leading yourself to elbow dysplasia, to hip dysplasia. You can lead to bones not growing properly, muscle deforming. There's no end of problems that you can get. So don't do it. Rule of thumb for puppies is 5 minutes for every month they've been alive, up to about 12 months old. And then after 12 months old, you want to take your breed into consideration. So if you've got, let's say, I don't know, a Shih Tzu, by 12 months old, that's probably done all its growing and all its developing. If you've got a St. Bernard or one of the other giant breeds, you're looking at like 14 to 16 months before that dog's finished maturing, physically maturing. Okay, until it's finished physically maturing, you want to limit its exercise time. You need all those bones to solidify. On the opposite end of the scale, for older dogs, this is my personal sort of rule of thumb for dogs over the age of 12. I'll go for 2.5 minutes for every year they've been alive. So a 12-year-old dog will be fine with a half an hour walk. Okay? So moving on. Right, we're setting ourselves up for massive problems with separation anxiety. We're on lockdown, we're confined to our premises, we're trapped here with the dog. It seems like a great idea to keep it as company for us throughout this whole time, right? And yeah, might be. But what we're actually doing there is causing or potentially causing separation anxiety. We're spending far too much time with our dog. It develops a need for us to be there. While we're on this lockdown, we need to structure into our dog's life a certain amount of time that it's away from us. It can be in a different room, it can be on its bed, it can be in its crate, whatever. But away from us whilst we are socially interacting with the family, or we're on the phone to somebody else and we're having a laugh and a joke. So it sounds like there's fun and joy going off in the room, and the dog's kind of going to want to be there and come to us and join in. But in this instance, it's not allowed to do that, and it's going to learn to accept that, okay? So if it's free to roam around the room that you've isolated it in, and it starts barking and yapping or howling or scratching at the door or biting at the door handle, you're going to enter the room, you're going to treat it as though it was doing that in your presence while you were in the room and reprimand it, okay? When it comes time to letting your dog out, you're going to have to make sure that the dog is making no noise, it's not chewing at the door handle, it's not scratching the door. It can't get let out while it's making a noise or causing a kerfuffle in any way. If you do open that door while it's causing a kerfuffle or making a noise, what you're teaching your dog is that's what you've got to do to get the door open. So if it was howling, then that's the pitch that you need to hit to get the door to open. The next time you isolate it, it will start going through its vocal range to try to find that pitch that it requires to trigger you to open the door, okay? So when you need it to be quiet, it doesn't have to be quiet for minutes, it just needs to be quiet, okay? So a couple of seconds of not barking or not whining can get you to open that door. In the early stages of training your separation from your dog, you're not just going to chuck it in the room and leave it for an hour, you're going to build it up nice and slowly. So 5 minutes to start off with, then 10, then 15, then 20, etc, etc, okay? Obviously, feel free to adjust those times. If your dog's not dealing with 5 minutes straight away, drop that time down until you're able to leave the room, come back with the dog still being relaxed. You might think, oh, it's not that much of a problem if the dogs are howling when I go back to work in a few weeks' time, but trust me, it can be. You've got your neighbours can contact the council and then they can get involved, but that's not like the limit of this problem. The limit of this problem can be your dog absolutely trashing your house, weeing and pooing all over everywhere, as well as singing and howling, and then you've got lots of other things to deal with. Next on the list is fat dogs. So we're isolating ourselves, we're in quarantine or on lockdown, call it whatever you want. We're not able to get out as much as we might be able to. We're not perhaps attending the classes that we used to go to with our dogs. But we will probably be feeding it the same quantity of food that we've been giving it since it matured or whilst it's been growing. Now, obviously, as a puppy, you're going to be adjusting that food quantity as the dog gets larger and larger. As a mature dog, though, if you have had quite an active lifestyle with your dog, shall we say, and you're now going into lockdown, you want to be adjusting the measures of food that you've been giving it. It's been used to running around and burning a lot of calories off, and you've been used to sort of feeding that engine, as it were, with however many grams that you're giving it. Now it's not able to do that running around and burn those calories off anymore. You need to reduce the amount of fuel that you're putting into that engine, okay? Like I said at the beginning, we're coming on to week 2 of lockdown, so you might not have noticed your dog piling on any weight yet. It's something to keep your eye on as we go through this lockdown period. It's also something to bear in mind when we come to our next danger, which is overtraining. All right, overtraining can lead to tidbits as a reward, and obviously piling through a load of tidbits and still getting its same quantity of food without the ability to burn those calories off. Going to get fatter. On the other side of overtraining, you might think to yourself, well, I've got all these weeks that I'm locked down, I've got nowhere else that I can be, might as well spend this time training my dog to be the best dog it can be. And yeah, totally agree with you, couldn't knock that idea at all. It's just important about how you go about doing it. So you're not going to go out there and deliver hour after hour of training back to back. What you should be looking at doing is going out and delivering 5 to 20 minutes worth of training where you're keeping your dog's attention and it's fun and you're both enjoying it, and then end and then have a break of however long you see fit and then come back and do some more. Doing it this way is going to keep your dog entertained and sort of fixed on working with you, whereas doing it hour after hour after hour is just going to bore your dog and it's going to switch off, okay? If you imagine doing 2 hours worth of stay exercises, your dog's going to get bored. It's just going to go to sleep, maybe. You can see where we're going with this. Short, sort of high impact training sets with lots of fun activities that will break up practicing the more boring and monotonous sort of exercises like your stays. So, overtraining. All right, what we got next? So next, we're going back onto the website. So, I know why. This is what I've been getting through a lot at the moment. Questions about can our dogs, pets, catch this illness? So after looking into this, I'm gonna go with yes. All right. So this was published a day ago, so the 30th of the 3rd, 2020, and it's by The Independent. And it starts off, in February, a pet dog in Hong Kong tested weak positive for coronavirus and was placed into quarantine. The Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department, the AFCD in Hong Kong, confirmed that repeated tests suggest the dog had a low level of the virus and it was likely that it was to be a case of human to animal transmission. The dog, a Pomeranian, had not shown any symptoms of the illness, but its owner was confirmed with being infected with COVID-19. Okay, a little further down it says the World Health Organization issued an updated information on Thursday the 13th of March saying that at present there is no evidence that companion animals or pets such as dogs or cats can be infected with the new coronavirus. Well, those two paragraphs seem to sort of contradict each other. One says it's been confirmed that pets can, and the other one saying that it can't. So we go a little bit further on. Further down, it sort of explains to us what a weak positive is, and they go to an American veterinary specialist. He specializes in swine virus. His name is Raymond R. Rowland, and he says that he deals with a lot of weak positives in the pig industry, where he's talking to farmers, and obviously that can mean their livelihood. And his answer to the reporter is going to be the same as it was to the farmers. It's just basically wait and see. They have no idea what the weak positive could do. He says even if the Pomeranian has a low-level infection, that doesn't say that the animal is sufficiently infected that it can spread the virus. The dog could simply be a host for the illness that neither becomes unwell or infects other people or animals. Okay, so is that... let's go and check now, shall we, what the World Health Organization says. So this is the World Health Organization, and it's can I catch COVID-19 from my pet? So that's just asking if you can catch it from your pet. It says, while there's been one instance of a dog being infected in Hong Kong to date, there's no evidence that a dog or a cat or any pet can transmit COVID-19. Okay, so that their specific choice of word there's transmit. So they're saying he can't give it you. They're not saying that he can't get it. So one dog's already been infected. Has there been more than one dog? Well, yes, there is. There's the second dog's tested positive for coronavirus. It's also out there in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong government has urged people not to abandon their pets and to stop kissing them, as a second dog has tested positive for coronavirus, but stressed that the animal has not shown any symptoms of the disease. Now they did the Pomeranian or Pekingese, whatever that was, that picked it up before, which incidentally is dead now, and we'll cover that in just a second. So this is a German Shepherd that's tested positive, and it was picked up on the Hong Kong island, sent into quarantine along with another mixed breed of dog from the same residence on Thursday, after their owner was confirmed as being infected. The AFCD said in a statement. Though the shepherd tested positive for the virus, no such result was obtained from the mixed breed dog, and neither dog has shown signs of the disease. Adding it will continue to monitor both dogs and conduct repeated tests on the animals. Okay, so that's 2 dogs. Is there any more? The first cat, and this is again published on the 27th of March. The first cat infected with coronavirus reported in Belgium. So a cat in Belgium has tested positive for the coronavirus after catching the potentially deadly bug from its infected owner, officials said on Friday. The sick pet in Liège tested positive after showing classic symptoms of COVID-19, including difficulty breathing, a week after its owner first fell sick, health officials told at a press conference. While it's the first known infection of a cat, 2 dogs in Hong Kong have previously tested positive, with the first 17-year-old Pomeranian dying after returning home from quarantine. Like I said, we'll get onto that in just a second. The cat had diarrhea, kept vomiting, and had breathing difficulties. The researchers found the virus in the cat's feces. So these at the 2, cats seem to be getting it worse from the virus. Dogs seem to be not affected by it, but cats seem to be affected by it. So I hope can't be the only person that's picked that up. I hope there's somebody a lot smarter than me looking at that to make sure that this thing isn't able to sort of hide in our pet population and then come back to get us a little bit later on. I know it says that there's no evidence that your pets can pass it on to us, but that could be that there's no evidence because nobody's checked yet. Right, so let's have a look at the first dog to have died that's been confirmed to have had coronavirus. This is from Live Science. First dog with confirmed coronavirus infection has died, but we don't know if it was because of the virus. Well, let's keep reading and find out. The dog did not develop symptoms of the illness while infected and has been allowed to return home after finally testing negative for the virus. That's a stock image of a Pomeranian, not the actual one that was infected. The 17-year-old Pomeranian first tested weak positive for the virus on February the 28th. The 17-year-old Pomeranian. Okay, I think we might be getting a little bit closer to why it passed away. Okay, but let's carry on. And experts from the University of Hong Kong City and the World's Organization of Animal Health unanimously agreed that the test results reflected a possible case of human to animal transmission, according to the South China Morning Post. The dog was in quarantine at a government facility from February the 26th to March the 14th. Okay, so it was a 17-year-old Pomeranian that was kept in quarantine for 17 days, where it's been poked and prodded and blood tested and all of that sort of stuff. After it finally tested negative for the virus, it was allowed to return home, so said the South China Morning Post. And the animal died on the 16th of March, reported by the AFCD. So it died 2 days later. Okay, right, if I had to put my bus fare home on why that dog died, I'm going to put it down to shock, stress, or a heart attack relating to shock and stress through going through the 17 days ordeal of quarantine and the testing and all that sort of stuff. It was 17 years old. Okay, it shouldn't really be surprising that it would have passed away shortly. Right, so that's that covered. Well, folks, thanks for watching. If you've liked the video, hit that thumbs up. If you've not subscribed yet, please do so already. Any comments, put them in the comment section down below. Have a go at that mental arithmetic, see how smart we're feeling at the moment during the second week of lockdown. Well, that leaves me to say is, folks, stay safe, look after yourself, and I'll see you again shortly. Goodbye.